Before we begin, I need to ask you something. Have you ever felt like something was watching you? Not from the shadows, but from your memories. Tonight's story is not a legend. It's not folklore. And it's not something I recommend you try to investigate on your own. Because once you hear it, you can't unhear it. This is Echoes of the Forgotten, and this is the story of the tape that was never meant to be played. In 1997, an abandoned radio station was discovered on the outskirts of a small town in Oregon. No signs, no records, no mention in any public archive. It was as if the place had been erased. Inside, the building was intact. Dusty, yes, but untouched. Microphones still connected, chairs still facing the control room, and shelves filled with cassette tapes, hundreds of them. Each tape was labeled with a date, a time, and a single word: listen. One of the urban explorers who entered the station, his name was Marcus, described the silence as wrong, not quiet, but listening. Marcus took one tape home, dated October 12, 1983, 2:17 a.m. When he played it, there was static, then breathing, not into the microphone, around it, and then a voice. If you're hearing this, it means we failed. The voice belonged to a man named Daniel Cross, a late-night radio host who officially never existed. He spoke calmly, too calmly. He explained that the station had begun receiving calls that weren't coming through phone lines. They were coming through time. Listeners would call and describe things that hadn't happened yet. Accidents, deaths, disappearances. And every prediction came true, always at 2:17 a.m. Daniel laid out rules on the tape, rules they learned too late. Never play a tape alone. Never listen past your own time. If you hear your name, stop immediately. Marcus laughed at this, until the tape said, "Marcus, you shouldn't be listening to this." The tape shut off. No click, no rewind, just silence. That night, Marcus woke up at exactly 2:17 a.m., unable to move. And in the dark, he heard a radio playing from somewhere inside his walls. More tapes were later recovered. They revealed the truth. The station wasn't broadcasting music. It was broadcasting people. Every scream, every confession, every final thought before death. The hosts believed they were helping, giving warnings, saving lives. But something else was listening. Something that learned voices, learned fear, learned names. And once it learned yours, it could call you back. The last tape was dated the night the station shut down. Daniel's voice was breaking. He said the calls were no longer coming from the future. They were coming from the present, from inside the station, from empty rooms, from behind him. He whispered, "We're not alone." He whispered, "It knows we're recording it, and it wants to be remembered." The final sound on the tape was a chair scraping the floor, and a second voice, not human, repeating the same sentence over and over. "Stay tuned." 3 days after playing the tape, Marcus vanished. His apartment was empty.
except for one thing: a cassette tape on his bed. No label. When investigators played it, they heard Marcus's voice, crying, begging someone to turn it off, and in the background, a radio host calmly introducing the next segment, using your voice. The radio station was sealed. The tapes were destroyed, at least officially. But sometimes, late at night, people still wake up at 2:17 a.m. and swear they hear static, a familiar voice, calling their name. So tonight, if your room feels a little quieter than usual, and you hear something that sounds like a radio, don't listen, because some echoes are forgotten for a reason. This was Echoes of the Forgotten. If you enjoyed this story, you already know what to do. But remember, not everything wants to be remembered. Good night.
In the town of Hollow Creek, there was a rule every child learned before they learned how to read. If someone knocks on your door at night, once, ignore it. Twice, stay quiet. But if you hear a third knock, no matter how familiar the voice sounds, do not answer. No one remembered where the rule came from. Parents never explained it. Teachers avoided the topic. Police laughed it off. But everyone obeyed, because everyone knew at least one house that stood empty for no clear reason. Ethan Miller moved to Hollow Creek in 2009. He didn't know the rule. On his first night, just after midnight, he heard a knock. Slow, careful. Knock. Silence. Knock. Longer silence. Ethan walked to the door. That's when he heard his mother's voice. "Ethan, I forgot my keys." His mother had been dead for 3 years. Then came the third knock. Ethan didn't open the door, but he spoke. He whispered, "Who is this?" The voice sighed in relief. "Thank you. You can hear me." The doorknob turned, not violently, gently, like it was being tested. And from the other side, something asked a question no one was supposed to answer. "May I come in, or may I stay as you?" Old records revealed the truth. Decades earlier, Hollow Creek had a tradition. They believed death wasn't immediate, that something lingered between the final breath and being forgotten. They called it the listener. It didn't break in. It didn't chase. It waited to be invited. Every time someone answered the third knock, a person disappeared, but their life continued. Same job, same routine, same face, just slightly wrong. Neighbors noticed changes. Ethan stopped blinking as often. He began standing still at night, facing doors, not sleeping, listening. When people spoke to him, he'd pause, as if someone else was answering first. Then the knocks started again, this time from inside his house. Police found a voice recorder in Ethan's home, one single file. At exactly 3:33 a.m., Ethan whispered, "It doesn't want my house, it wants my place." Then another voice, identical to his, replied, "You already gave it to me." 3 slow knocks followed, from inside the recording. Ethan was declared missing, but residents swear they still see him, standing in doorways, smiling, waiting for someone new to make a mistake. So tonight, if you hear a knock and a voice you trust calls your name, remember, it's not asking to come in.
It's asking to replace you. This has been Echoes of the Forgotten. Sleep well, and whatever you do, do not answer the third knock.
In 2014, thousands of people across different countries reported the same experience. They would lose exactly 7 minutes. No dizziness, no warning, no explanation. They would be driving and suddenly arrive home, cooking and suddenly the food was cold, watching a video and realize it had ended, but they didn't remember pressing play. Doctors blamed stress. Scientists blamed attention gaps. But one detail didn't fit. Every missing interval happened at the same time, 2:17 a.m. Buried deep in an old forum was a thread titled, "I remember what happens at 2:17. The post was short. If you're reading this and it makes sense, they haven't found you yet. The author claimed the missing minutes weren't empty. They were taken, and something was being done during that time. Something careful, something precise, something that required people to forget what happened. A man named Oliver Hale began recording himself while he slept, night after night. Nothing happened until one recording stopped at 2:17 a.m. Not cut, paused. The video resumed 7 minutes later, but Oliver was no longer in the room. There was a shape near the bed, tall, out of focus, and speaking in Oliver's voice. This version will do. More recordings surfaced, different homes, different countries, same pattern. The entity never looked at the camera. It looked at the person, touching their forehead, whispering questions only they could answer, names, fears, regrets. It wasn't stealing memories, it was curating them, removing anything that could make someone realize what was happening. One woman tried to warn the world. She tattooed a message on her arm before sleeping. Do not trust the missing time. When she woke up, the tattoo was still there, but she couldn't understand what it meant. In a later recording, the entity traced the letters with its finger and said, "Fear is inefficient. We'll leave that next time." This story was never meant to be shared. You're only hearing it because something went wrong, a delay, a fragment, a memory that wasn't fully erased. And now, as you listen, you might feel uneasy, like something is slightly off. That's not fear, that's recognition. Tonight, when the clock approaches 2:17, pay attention. If you suddenly realize time has passed, if a thought feels incomplete, if you feel calm when you should be afraid, that means it worked. And if tomorrow you don't remember this story, that means it worked perfectly. This has been Echoes of the Forgotten. Sleep well, and don't worry, you were never supposed to remember this anyway. The first documented case came from a woman named Laura Keene. She contacted a university psychology department with a simple concern. She claimed someone was living in her apartment. Not hiding, not breaking in, but only existing when she could see her reflection. Bathroom mirrors, windows at night, her phone screen when it went black. She never saw the man directly, only behind her, standing too close, never blinking. As more reports surfaced, similarities became impossible to ignore. The man always appeared, slightly out of focus, wearing outdated clothing, standing just outside normal personal space, and most disturbingly, he never moved until the observer did. When they turned around, nothing. When they looked back, closer, always closer. Those who encountered him began sharing rules online, rules learned through panic. Rule 1, never acknowledge him. Rule 2, Never test if he's still there. Rule 3. Never let your reflection disappear while he's visible. Because those who turned off the lights or closed their eyes never described what happened next. They simply stopped responding. A security camera technician named Aaron Holt changed everything. He set up cameras facing mirrors in his home. Most footage was normal, until one clip. At 4:21 a.m., Aaron stands in front of his bathroom mirror. Behind him, the man. But this time, the man is looking directly at the camera and smiling. Aaron slowly raises his hand. In the reflection, the man raises his hand first. A theory began circulating. Reflections aren't copies, they're delays. Tiny fractions of time where something else can exist. The man wasn't appearing in reflections, he was using them, learning posture, learning movement, learning how long it takes to replace someone. One post simply read, "He's not watching you, he's rehearsing." Laura posted her final update. She wrote, "He started appearing when I'm not near mirrors." She attached a photo, a dark computer screen. In the reflection, the man was standing alone, facing forward, as if waiting. The caption read, "I think he doesn't need me anymore." If this story feels uncomfortable, if you've become aware of reflections around you, that's not an accident. Because once you know to look, you start noticing pauses, moments where reflections feel late. So tonight, when you brush your teeth, when your phone screen goes dark, when the window reflects your room, pay attention. If something is standing behind you and smiling, don't turn around. Because if you do, there may be nothing there anymore. This has been Echoes of the Forgotten. Thank you for listening. And remember, some things don't cross into our world. They wait for us to step out of the way.